Benjamin Franklin once said, "The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten." The fact is, quality matters. Join us as we make quality fun, interesting, and accessible to companies of all levels. Quality Matters is a must-listen for all things quality. Listen in, ask questions, and get back to doing what matters most. Quality Matters, brought to you by Texas Quality Assurance, where quality management gets simplified.
Well, welcome back to Quality Matters. This is Con. We got Caleb here, and it's been a little while since we recorded. Caleb, you had something like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember what it was. You were out, and then last week I was going to try to record one by myself. But in case, our schedules have been weird. It's been stupid busy. That's a good thing, but it's just been stupidly busy around here. And well, you got to put first things first, and I'm sure every sales marketing guy out there thinks their sales marketing's first things first, but you got to take care of your customers, take care of your family. So
yeah,
here we are. A little late. Sorry for the gap, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people just like sit on pins and needles waiting to see what we release next, but
probably all of them.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's got to be tons of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has been an effort though that we've tried to hit on, and I think we've been doing a decent job this year.
I think so too. We really have. I mean, look, I won't lie. When I look at all the YouTube numbers, like I start getting excited. It's like, man, we're actually starting to see some pretty decent growth here. So it's kind of cool. We ain't making no money off of it, but
no, whatever. It's a labor of love.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Well, someone was asking me here a couple weeks ago, like, what's your goal with the podcast, Kyle? And I was like, look, to be honest with you, it's a cheap, free sales marketing tool. I won't lie. Like, anyone listening to this, they know that. I don't think anyone's naive to think that people do this purely just for the goodness out of their heart. But I think 90% of it is. And now, look, a secondary goal of mine is I want to put out so much good free information that other consultants start to hate me because I'm taking their work away and not getting paid for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's
so in any case, it's fun. Well, we're going to talk this week, finish up what we started last time on risk. Now, I had a training last week, had a guy up here to the office actually for a couple days. And one of the things we dug into a lot was risk, because, ISO is just kind of bonkers about how it talks about risk and risk management. But regardless what ISO does or doesn't say, I think any good company kind of already does or should look at things in this perspective. So what was it we talked about last week? Here. Hey, I actually have like notes for a change.
You got your outline?
Yeah, I got my outline. Okay, so we talked about the basic types of risk last time. Okay, nothing huge to review. Like we've got customer satisfaction, health, safety, environmental, legal risks. These are the big ones. Like when you're going into your audit, I mean, regardless, we're talking about ISO 9001, API, Q1, Q2, like we're 95% talking the same thing here, regardless. I don't need you to document, because we do have a need for a risk register. We'll talk about that shortly. But I don't need you to document all of the risks that all of your procedures cover. Like you don't need 100 common sense risks noted. I mean, yeah, it makes your auditor maybe a little happy, but like it's such a waste of time. Like we all kind of know we have a document information procedure because we have to make sure that documents that aren't approved don't go out on the shop floor. Like we know these things.
Yeah.
Some stuff that's like a really strategic type risk, like for us with the TQA Cloud QMS software, data security, when we were getting ready, and probably the first few months after we launched the SaaS platform in 21? Was it 21? Shit.
Yeah, wow. I don't know. No concept of time anymore.
But data security would keep me up late at night. So, I mean, those would be a couple of good things to put on the risk register. Like, no matter freaking what, you can't forget about this. Those are good risks to put on the risk register. Yeah. But my supplier might be 2 days late, so I'm going to put this little tag on the purchase order to remind them not to be late or what the date is, or I'm going to bold, or I'm going to italicize or something. I don't give a crap about that. You're not helping your business by documenting that stuff. Now, if you got a real pain in the butt auditor that wants to see it, I mean, I do suppose that is helping your business, but But then we're building the management system for the auditor and not for the business.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. And it also creates just a big mess of stuff, you know, and you go and you look at your risk register and there's 100 items and you're like, I don't even, you know, like, I don't even remember
what. Even look at the important stuff because there's so much bullcrap in there.
Yeah. And then you get the, like, what do they call it? Analysis paralysis. We're like, well, I need to update the risk register. Well, I don't want to update all 100 things. I'm just not going to do it. Like,
exactly. Well, we've got one customer that I finally told them, was like, look, y'all got this huge risk register and I'd love to go through it, but like, I can't decipher what's important and not important on it because they put every dang thing that ever came across their desk on it for 3 years. I'm like, I don't know. What's worse is they try to score them all. And it's not just these folks. It's like almost anyone. They want to score risks. We're guilty of it. I've talked about it before. We used to include the pre-mitigation and post-mitigation because I'm guilty too. I get caught up in all of the buzzwords and all of the ways you should do things, but it didn't help no one. Hell, I think it made it worse.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm no auditor. I understand risk, but I mean, it's like with anything, if you oversaturate it and it just serves to belittle it, you want to be deliberate, you want to be mindful, and I mean,
you just can't.
Yeah, now, it's not just busy work.
Here's a good example of risk I just thought about. Okay, so years ago, we had the idea that we wanted to sell merch. And so that's why I've got, like, you know, a little fun coffee mug here and a few other things. But I was worried that the stickers that they put on my coffee mug wouldn't stick. And so you can see my QualityMatters over the years has kind of slid up a little bit there.
By design.
So maybe I'm glad we didn't sell these because that was a fear of mine.
I totally thought that was like by design. I was like, oh, that's kind of quirky. No.
Well, I've thought that too. I've thought about trying to say, oh man, that was totally the goal, but it really wasn't.
It's a customizable coffee cup. Like,
yeah. But you know, us software guys, it's a bug. No, it's a feature.
Yeah, you can totally customize that. Make it say whatever you want to.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to try to pull up this. Now, I don't necessarily need people to read from it. I know you ain't going to be able to see it on the screen, but maybe I can put this up where I can look at it. In case. Chart paper. Maybe I'll just hold it up for myself. There we go. I'm having a bad day. Anyone listening? Crap's falling off my fun little setup here. So, like, go to YouTube, get yourself a good laugh. Okay. In any case, I had to pull this up to remind myself of everything. All right. So we were talking about risk. Man, there's got to be a way I can hang this. I should have thought. Planned ahead, you know.
What about? It might stick to your bookshelf there, one of those ledges.
It might, but then I got to turn my head away from the camera. All right, I'll just hold it here like a dummy, and you know that'll work. That whole PDCA, the plan, do, check, act cycle. This is what happens when you go straight to do and you skip the plan. All right. So we talked about risk, and I tried to explain. He was trying to understand, like, what's the difference in risk and opportunity. And I know folks out there disagree with me, and it's actually okay you disagree with me. You can go down a different path on this. My interpretation is not the only one. It's just the one I think is best for most of our customers, which are typically smaller businesses, more product oriented than service oriented. So, in any case, risk and opportunity. What's the difference? The standard wants us to track risks and opportunities. Does this mean we need a risk register? We need an opportunity register. We need to identify this CAPA's for risks and this one's for opportunities. I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Comment below what you think. Like, before I go on and give an answer, I want someone to comment below about what you think. Should risk opportunities be interchangeable? Are they different? Do we need to document them differently? Do we need to treat them differently? A lot of discussion on it. I see it mostly as glass half full, glass half empty. I mean, which one is it? If the glass is half full, you might be like, great, there's water I can drink. But what if you just took it on the dishwasher and it was upside down? Yeah, I'm not happy that it's halfway full. Which way is it?
Yeah.
And everyone has a little bit of a different personality. They have a different risk appetite. They have a different outlook on life and on the world. And some days I'm one guy and some days I'm the other guy.
Yeah.
So let's take a new sale. So we've got actually, I'll use the example here. We have a new prospect for, I'll change the city. Let's say it's New York. So we've got a prospect for a customer where I could go up to New York once a month. Good business opportunity, good work company. I'm really actually looking forward to working with. I think it'd be pretty cool. Is that a risk or is that an opportunity?
Both.
Yeah. Because you know what? That travel time sucks. Travel time takes away from what I could be doing otherwise. It's stressful. I don't enjoy it. I'm a bit of an introvert. I get so stressed out and amped up sitting there in the airport. I'm like, there's too many dang people. I'm going to go crazy. And I just want to go find a closet and be alone. But, then you miss your flight.
And it can be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now with Boeing. They finally sent the, what was it? I'll know the term for it. The pod that they'd sent up to the space station. They finally sent it back home with no one on it.
Yeah. Saw that.
In any case. But it's like risk and opportunity are very, very interchangeable. I won't say totally, but I'll say for 9 times out of 10, because again, we make a rule and then we make exceptions to the rule. 9 times out of 10, risk and opportunity are interchangeable. Like, this is a great opportunity, man. This is a new customer, new part of the country, even a new industry, a little bit of a twist on the work we normally do. I think it's going to be tons of fun. Yeah. But it definitely poses a risk to the business because we've got limited time, limited resources, and limited skill set. I mean, it's possible that I may not be very good at helping these folks out, and I'm going to have to do a lot of research and study. Which one is it? I don't know. I mean, how you take COVID. All right. When COVID happened, we can all rattle off 10,000 risks that presented our business.
Yeah.
But one thing it did do is it forced us to move to the SaaS model, which I've been talking about doing for a long freaking time. I've been talking since 2013, how great it'd be to have a cloud service solution and all this type stuff. So, I mean, yeah, COVID wrecking our business and putting a third of our customers out of business and another third of them going off to get merged with someone else.
Yeah.
Sucked, but forced us to look at things differently. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, whole point.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the whole point is like, you just can't look at it quite so binary broke down. They're different. Pisses me off the 2015 edition of the standard. They're trying to say they're different. And I'm like, in any case, I say 2015, the new 2025 edition is ISO. They're trying to make a just bigger distinction between them. Okay.
Well, maybe they'll define it better. I mean,
yeah. And I'll probably tell folks to say, we define opportunities in this little teeny tiny narrow area, and there's no documentation required for it, and everything else is risk.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny. That was the guy that was training. That was one of his comments when we were going through the standard. He was like, "So Kyle, we're not really like following ISO. We follow our procedures, and then we just try to figure out how to make that work for what ISO says. Like almost get around it." I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your procedures are based on business. They're based on experience. They're based on, what you do.
Yeah.
So ISO is just a way to make sure that everybody's, pretty standard. It's a standard.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
It's a standard to force you to standardize your business.
Yeah.
Go figure. Okay. All right. So that was one thing we talked about. All right. Oh, yeah. And I wanted to give a good definition for what's their definition for risk. What's the definition for opportunity? So risk would be the negative impact of uncertainty. Opportunity is the positive impact of uncertainty. So a single instance almost always has both. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the big ones. These are the ones that if you are taking notes and you're about to go update your own personal or company risk procedure, please pay attention. All right. Most, not all, most risk-based thinking, most risk management, if you're not in aerospace and not in medical devices or nuclear, some weird regulated world, most, it's common freaking sense.
Yeah.
Now, so here's kind of some common things, common sense practices that you would write into your procedure and maybe look at the wording as it occurs in other procedures. But a big thing you do for mitigating risk is you don't hire dummies, right? So you hire and train competent team members.
Yeah.
We've all had that knucklehead in the office that, man, he's good at what he does, but ain't no way you're going to ask him to make a critical decision.
Yeah.
No way you're going to give him anything important that requires creative thinking. On the flip side, you got the one guy. That maybe this is me sometimes, that has too many ideas and goes in too many squirrely directions.
Oh yeah, that's me too. Wait, that's not good. Both of us are like that. Oh shoot.
Well, maybe that's why we work so well together. I think it's very rare we're both on a squirrely idea day at the same time.
Yeah, there you go. And you can only get so many squirrely ideas done. So I think we choose the good ones.
We do. I think we have a really, really cool balance. I love it. But in any case, so that's a big one. Now, I will say there are some companies that they would have a hard time documenting this because maybe they rely very largely on temporary labor or short-term employees, or maybe they rely very heavily on outsourced work where they don't even know the folks. So maybe it won't work for your company. Most companies it will. All right. Another one. Leadership is might help if I could read on. I think it's terrible. All right. So leadership is trusted to make strategic directions. Look, I think we've all seen, and probably some of us work for a boss that really didn't want to make a decision. He'd always pass the buck to someone else, And then if it worked great, hey, awesome. If it worked bad, ooh, shame on you.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you've got good leadership, and I don't just mean top management, this could be supervisors, this could be your operations manager, should be your CEO. They make good strategic decisions. That's what they're there for. They're trusted to do it. And that means you probably ought to put something in their job description about it. And you ought to explain to them, we value you and we trust you to make good strategic decisions.
Yeah.
You know what? And if you even put that on part of their employee performance review, and you're like, look, here's some cool things that you did. Here's some not cool things you did. And good decision, bad decision. I think it's a great way to evaluate leadership. I mean, heck, what's leadership there for if not to make difficult decisions?
Yeah.
Okay. I think most every company could do that one. Documentation of critical work operations and procedures and work instructions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have a procedure, if you have a form, if you have a work instruction, does that not imply that it's there to mitigate risk?
Yeah. There's no decision making. There's no, I mean, you know what to do in most situations. There's not, and you're assuming that the process or the work instruction has been thoroughly evaluated. I mean, there could be some risk there, like maybe you didn't test it enough, but there's nothing left to chance.
Have an approval process in your document control procedure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big one. The competence and training program, this is a key when you want to word it this way. Competence and training program is based on perceived risk by management.
Yeah.
What do we train you on? Well, the stuff management thinks is risky. Yeah. So does that mean I need a separate list of all of those risks? I mean, you could. And for health and safety, I actually recommend you do a lot of times, but I'm not going to say you must.
Yeah.
All right. CAPAs are for mitigation of newly identified risks. You don't have a CAPA unless you got a risk. You got a root cause that you mitigate. Isn't that root cause just another word for negative risk?
Yeah.
You got CAPAs.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to. And dude, Caleb created some really cool sliders. Like, it was awesome. I felt really bad telling him to throw it all away. But we had like the pre-mitigation risk for the CAPA and the post-mitigation risk for the CAPA. And we spent a lot of time working on a rubric that was close to what just an average, normal, non-engineering person could make sense of, is this a 1 or a 10 on the risk scale? But we'll talk about why we nixed that a little bit later another day, I guess. And then the last one is NCRs are for trending and risk identification. You got a one-time NCR, could be common cause, could be special cause. You got 10 of them. We got something going on. We need to analyze it.
Yeah.
You know, one of the examples we used in the training that I thought was pretty cool is I was like, look, let's say that your company does a lot of field work. Okay. And you notice that 10% of your jobs someone is, maybe they're messing up the loadout sheet, or maybe they're using the incorrect number of, materials, or maybe whatever it is. But you notice you have similar issues, but it's only on about 10% of the jobs. It's like, well, what could the root cause be? What's the risk that we want to mitigate? I'm like, well, I mean, it could be that your loadout sheet and your instructions kind of suck, and stuff slips through the gaps. Could be one of your crews has a knucklehead running it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be either way. So you got to do the analysis on it. But that's why you record non-conformance reports, so you can find out what to analyze. Yeah. You might see that there's a common cause in it. It might be the same crew having the same issues. I don't know.
And then you go check their loadout sheet. There's no signature. And then you're saying, oh, well, okay.
Well, there we go.
Somebody's not using the loadout sheet.
Yeah, there we go. Now we know the issue. In case. So that's kind of basics of risk. So that's where we start. That is, to me, the foundation of risk-based thinking. And we've talked about this many times before, and I'm sure we'll many times again. You go to ISO 9001, you go to Annex A4, and which is not auditable, by the way, but still. You go there, and it says that risk-based thinking replaced the preventive action clause. In 2008, they had a preventive action clause. 2015, no preventive action clause, but they have risk-based thinking. And they tried saying that risk-based thinking has been implicit throughout all the previous versions of the standard, which I agree with.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with. Now, I remember the first time I read it, I thought, bull crap, y'all slapping some made-up stuff in here. But no, it's true. I mean, you can't have a management system like 9001 without it forcing people to think of risks.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're left with the documentation of risks. A lot of it we already talked about. You have this in your procedure, and you can point to any of these during the audit, and they're all objective evidence, since your procedure says this is how you track risk, and the standard doesn't tell you how to document it. It works. But you still do kind of need a risk register. A, because every auditor is looking for one, so it makes your life easier. And B, there's some stuff you just forget about.
Yeah.
My favorite one is OSHA. All your safety crap.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, unless you're a CSP and you have just recorded all of this in your noggin, you can't remember.
Yeah.
Go tell me the 50 things I got to do for forklift training program.
Yeah.
Your risk register becomes a summary of legal requirements you abide by. So for forklifts, I might have 10 or 15 risks identified. And you know what? All of those 10 or 15 risks had better show up on every single one of my forklift trainings.
Okay.
I better make sure my procedure talks about these 10 to 15 things, because they're clear legal requirements.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a customer who says, one customer is a little different than the others. We used to have this when I worked at the turbine company. We had a shiny spec. We took an old military abrasive blasting spec, and we modified it, and we called it the shiny spec, because he wanted all of his parts to show up shiny. Those were his words. He even had it on the purchase order. Shiny.
Yeah.
How do you quantify shiny?
Yeah.
Well, then how do you remember how you quantified shiny, and how do you remember that he has to do it? That's a good one for the risk register.
Yeah.
Customer, Acme, whatever, power generation, wants all shiny parts, even the internal combustion ones that literally no one ever sees, and that within a millisecond of firing the turbine are no longer shiny. They need to be shiny.
Well, so you could say you'd want to design for maybe also future employees, or turnover, that kind of thing, because maybe somebody now knows what shiny means, but the next person doesn't, or maybe you don't have that customer for a couple months or a year even, and then they put in another order, and then it's like, wait, what crap? What did that mean again? So.
And, we've started doing something similar for our customers. So we've got a project management tool that we use to track all of our tasks and whatnot in. And here in the last few weeks, we put a planning task associated with every single project. And so we're going through and putting, look, here's all the specifics for this customer, for this project that have to be met that are outside of the ordinary. They want something different. Okay. I don't have to remember it. That's risk management.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Just that act itself, you're managing risk. Yeah.
But I think I probably need to put this in the link. Regardless if you're a TQA cloud customer or not, but you should be. We need to post a picture, video talking about the risk register that we have in there and hazard assessments. I used to do all this manually without a fancy computer software. So don't think I'm giving you advice you can't utilize unless you pay for our software, but you should. Is the hazard assessment's really cool because you select a work area. So let's say the work area is forklifts. We'll just use that simple. I know forklift isn't like a work area, but for the purpose of hazard assessments, it works great.
Yeah.
Forklift's work area. And then you may identify 10 risks with it. And then you're going to have certain controls on it. Is this an admin control, meaning it's just a rule you follow and you could totally break it if you're a dummy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need PPE? Do we need engineering controls? Like, what is it? What do we need in here? But the cool thing is when you print it all out, you see all of the risks, you see all of the control levels, and then down at the bottom, we tell you all the documentation, each procedure, each form that you have to go to. And then we tell you the specific legal requirements that they mitigate. Like, you want to talk about making life easy when OSHA shows up? I know this personal experience. When OSHA shows up and you show them that document that has all of the risks identified, even if it's not super comprehensive, and you show your documentation and you show the OSHA CFR, that inspector suddenly gets from being nasty, mean, angry to, okay, we might can work together. You have done your due diligence.
Yeah.
You may still screwed up and you might still be in trouble, but the biggest way to get your butt kicked by OSHA is not doing your due diligence.
Yeah. Not trying. Yeah.
Yeah. Go figure.
It's crazy how, just having something that organized, I mean, just the sight of it before you start breaking it down is a little disarming. You're like, it's going to be an easy day. Now my mode goes from I'm going to figure out everything wrong to, I got to figure out this document now.
Yeah. Let me figure out what they're missing. Like, okay, these guys are trying.
Yeah.
They're trying. They put some thought into it, which is more than a lot of folks do. So,
it's like, when I used to go to a site, you show up and there's welder stamps on welds. You're like, oh, or, they show you like the log first thing when you get there and you're like, okay, this is a lot different than when I was at yesterday where nobody even knew who the welders were. Like,
yeah. Well, again, all this is risk-based thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we probably spend too much time talking on it, but it's just one of these things that like every single time we get a new customer, we kind of have to go through a little bit of training and indoctrination on it because they have come from working with other consultants or watching YouTube videos that send them down some really, really crazy rabbit holes. Because look, risk management's a great keyword and lots of information shows up for it. And man, we could probably make a whole bunch more money. Oh man, that's all crooked. I got to fix that. That's driving me crazy. All right. We could probably make a whole bunch more money if we complicating the crap out of stuff and charge twice as much to our people.
And sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I had what I was going to, you fixed the thing and I was like,
sorry.
No, you're good. It's just such a big topic. And I mean, immediately when we started talking about risk, you're like, no, that's going to be a couple podcasts. I mean, and that's the streamlined version. I mean, we have one of the more streamlined approaches that I've seen. So, I think it just kind of overwhelms people and
it does.
Yeah.
So. Well, and I think part of why it gets so complicated is because there are so many, what I consider bad or incorrect ways of thinking, not for everyone, again, just for the segment of the industry we normally deal with, which is small businesses largely.
Thinking earlier is our caveats. Like, we disclaim like we normally deal with small businesses. Obviously, if you have health and safety or, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, that kind of thing, nuclear,
you're a different world.
Yeah, that's a whole, So
you're a different world. All of this still applies for them,
Yeah.
But you do got to go a lot deeper into it. And that's when we're doing our FMEAs and our DFMEAs. And we do need to categorize and quantify things. So maybe this is where I'll finish up. I'll stop my rambling after this. All right. So it really like is a shocker to some folks when I say don't score or quantify your risk. Like our risk register has the option critical, not critical. That's it.
Mhm.
Critical risk means you're doing something about it. Not critical. You may want to document. We're not going to do nothing about it. Here's why. This happens so infrequently. This is a whatever. We don't think it's actually going to occur, but we want to document it. Okay.
Yeah. We
So-
know it exists. We've analyzed it.
Likelihood. Let's just say we're scoring it on a 1 to 10. You could do it a 1 to 5. Rubrics, math works the way math works, right? So how likely is this to occur? So what I've tried to do before is tell people like, okay, so a 1 for a likely is that you're going to get struck by lightning today.
Yeah.
Totally could happen, but really rare. And a 10 for likelihood is that you're on a car ride with your kid with a baby and you smell a poop. It's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. That's 1 through 10. All right. It's going to happen. You got more than a 50% chance it's going to happen at a 10, and you got astronomically low at a 1. Okay. I think we can all grasp that. And we might even be able to figure out a 5. But what's a 4? What's a 3? What's a 6? What's a 7? And ultimately, people score that on a gut feel.
Yeah. Or not.
Why
Yeah.
quantify a gut feel? You're lying.
Yeah.
You are falsifying information.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So that's when people opt for the smiley faces because that's obviously not quantifiable. But again, we're going to arrive at the same conclusion. So you've got likelihood. Then you have severity. All right. So severity. A 1 on a severity might be I stubbed my toe on the coffee table. Assume it's not your pinky toe. That's a bad one. We'd move pinky toe.
That'd
to
be
about 3.
probably a 3, 4.
Yeah. You stub your big toe on the table. That's clearly a 1. And a 10 on severity is shark attack takes out your leg and you bleed to death in the ocean and die.
Yeah.
Okay. Tornado ravages your home and now you got a foundation.
Houston tornado.
Again, where are we going to go in between? How are you going to quantify it? And we came up with some cool rubrics like maybe this many dollars in loss, this many man hours lost, this many whatever. But geez, that's a lot of work to get a accurate number on it. And what you do, maybe you also add in detectability. Some folks do, some folks don't. Depends on where you're going. Detectability really is kind of important. So we live out in the boonies now. Snakes are every freaking where. So a snake for detectability, I'd give a copperhead on detectability about a 7 or a 9, and I'd give a rat snake about a 5 or a 6. Because copperheads, man, they blend in right with all the leaves and brush, and you just don't see them till you step on them. And the rat snakes, they're big, black, long, squirrely everywhere. You see them in advance. So you have to add detectability. How hard is it to see? Because risk you can't see, regardless of everything else, is a dangerous risk. Again, that's a lot of work to try to accurately figure out. And, well, you know what people do, Caleb. They play with numbers till the box turns from red to yellow or from yellow to green.
Yep.
I mean, y'all all do it. Unless you're an engineer. Right? My engineering folks out there, but very few engineering CEOs that we deal with. You just guess till you get the box the color you want so that you can justify why you did or didn't do something with it. All you did was a whole lot of waste of time to say critical, not critical.
Yeah. Yep.
There's risk.
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe before we go, you had your list there. I think you went through about 5 or 6 different things with the criteria. Maybe hit those one more time real quick.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that might be a good kind of summary for today.
If you're taking notes, hire and train competent people. Leadership should be valued and trusted to make good decisions. Document your critical operations, work instructions, and procedures. Make a note, specifically use the language that competence and training programs are based on perceived risk by management. Your CAPAs are mitigation of newly identified risks. Therefore, no need to go up on a risk register unless you're just like, this is so super important. We can never forget this in 10 years.
Yep.
Right? Because in case NCRs are for trending and identification of new risks. You want to identify all of your legal requirements that you're adhering to as a risk in your risk register. Because, hey, you don't adhere to legal requirements. I mean, that's a pretty good definition of risk. Look, I won't lie. I speed a lot. Try not to go more than 5 miles an hour over, because over 5 miles an hour over significantly increases the risk of getting pulled over.
Yeah.
You'll all do it. Don't judge me.
5 miles over isn't speeding, right?
Not in Texas. Hey, 5 miles over, you better be in the right lane because your butt's getting passed.
Well, yeah, down in the Thunderdome down there.
Oh man, it's so funny. My oldest boy's getting ready to drive. He's taking his driving test next week, so we're praying that goes well. But yeah, he has a real hard time understanding. He's like, Dad, I'm going like over the speed limit. Aren't I supposed to be in the left lane? I'm like, no, the left lane's for passing. Well, shouldn't slow people be under the speed limit? I'm like,
there are no slow
Texas, son.
Yeah, there's no slow. Yeah,
the right, under the speed limits for tractors.
Yeah.
Oh crap! I did see a video. Someone took like a Ferrari engine and put it in a tractor, and this thing is doing burnouts with tractor wheels in the field.
Holy crap!
Like these big old 6 foot tall wheels.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
In any case, stupid stuff you see when you live out in the country. Anything else you got there, Caleb?
I don't think so. I mean, I hope this simplifies stuff for people that are listening. I Kyle says we use this as a marketing tool, but also what we try and do is help people out like ourselves, where 10, 15 years ago when we were scratching our head with this stuff and didn't really have resources. So by all means, if you hear some of this and it's not quite clear, or you have more questions, call us up. 5-minute call. It's 10-minute call.
I never turn someone away for a call. I've never ever told someone, "Hey, we're 10 minutes into this. I'm gonna have to charge you an hour if you want to keep talking." Yeah. Nah, you'll get me jabbering about crap, and I'll spend 30 minutes talking your ear off and realize I forgot to do something important.
It's on the risk register though that happens. So
yeah, Kyle talks too much. That's a risk.
We acknowledge it.
Oh man. All right. Well, this is cool. We'll wrap up from here. So, I have to say it, like, it really does impact us, and we watch it and we monitor it, and we love seeing it because it helps us identify how we can do better to get stuff out to you. And it's just kind of cool to see. Yeah. Please sure to like, subscribe, comment if you have questions on it. We want to do another Q&A episode, and we're pulling those Q&A episodes from your YouTube comments. But if you got anything else, email us. You can just email info@texasqa.com. That's a pretty generic one that I can get. And hope to talk to you soon.